There's an issue I've been dealing with, and based on what I'm reading in the comments of my videos, my online community, you're probably struggling with this as well. So let's talk about it. If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. Now here lately, there's been an issue that's been hitting me personally, and from what I've been reading in the comments of my videos and in my city prepping community forum, it's likely impacting you as well. There's this overwhelming, pervasive sense that there's so much more that needs to get done, and it can get a bit overwhelming. Imagine it this way, that you're preparing for a guest who never arrives. You're always mindful that they're gonna arrive one day, but as you keep preparing, you just end up growing tired. Now, what if I told you that would be the wrong approach, which might be why you're experiencing the early signs of fatigue and burnout in your preparedness journey? Now, admittedly, it's not an easy video for me to release. Being transparent about this issue can be difficult, even as someone that's been doing this for years. There's this assumption that I've got all my ducks in a row and I'm just coasting at this point in my preparedness journey. And look, while I've made great strides, I feel in many ways that I still have such a long way to go. And again, I know I'm not the only one that's experiencing this, but before we jump into this discussion and the solutions to address it though, I wanted to give you a few updates. Now, I took last week off on the channel for Thanksgiving, but I've actively been working on various projects around my house and a lot's been happening behind the scenes. We've been busy behind the scenes with our new city prepping community portal that we just recently launched. And if you miss that opportunity to sign up, we're gonna reopen it in probably January or February sometime. We've already had members inside that have been meeting with others in their area to begin forming mags, and overall, the feedback and the engagement, it's been encouraging as we really get this off the ground. Now, regarding the grow shed that I've spoken about on the channel since this summer, I've actually been making considerable progress over the last few weeks, and I hope to finish it up by early January. I'll likely be spending time over the Christmas break working on it and finishing it. I'll be doing videos with updates on that as I get closer to completion. Despite my immersion in the world of preparedness, I also have been struggling with what I would call prepper fatigue. It's a widespread challenge in our community, and it's really evidenced by the comments that I've been reading on my videos and the conversations that I've been having with people in our portal. The continuous nature of preparing, it's a lifestyle rather than a one-time task. It demands constant attention to supplies, tools, and skills. The pursuit, it really feels unending. We, as preppers, we often feel fatigued because of this, and as I mentioned, I sometimes, like you, are preparing for a party guest who is always on the way but seemingly never arrives. And sometimes you prepare for a storm in the future, like the one that struck 10 years ago, but another year goes by and still no storm. And it's easy to feel this way at the first level of preparedness, which is simply insurance against future uncertainties. And at the very least, you hope everyone prepares to this level. And just like you have health and life insurance, you also hope that you never have to use those. And when you don't use them and money's tight, you might wonder whether you need them or not. And prepping, it's not a short-term process. It's something that you do over the long term. And it's important to weave it into your daily life right now and not really just set things aside as an answer to some future calamity. It's a long race. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And sometimes you've got to coast and not fuel the engine. And let me tell you this, and I think some of you need to hear this, if you've got to step away from it for a period of time and just simply relax, by all means do it. Give yourself permission to live solely in the present and accept that the preps you have already put in place, they will likely be enough to get you through when you need them. Then when you're recharged and ready to re-engage in the next level of your preparedness journey, you will hopefully have the energy to do so, and you'll be armed and energized to transform your life. And even last week, just a short week that I took off from the channel, it really gave me perspective to pull back because this is what I do for a living. My attention and focus is in the news and what's happening and what I have to prepare next. And it's hard for me to slow down, I'll be honest, but just taking a week off alone has really re-energized me to get kicked back into gear here with the channel this week and to pick up projects again. And look, if you've got the basics of shelter, food, and water storage, some filtration techniques, maybe some basic energy setups, and medicine that you need, and you've got it set aside, These winter months and hopefully quieter times are the big opportunity to plan and set goals for the coming year. Take this time that you have now if you've got your main ducks in a row. And for some, winter is a time to plan for spring's garden. I've seen several online chats and gardening channels I follow about when is the earliest to plant, what's the best to get in the ground quickly right now, and so forth. And if you have some of these questions, you might want to take a look at our gardening playlist, which I'll link to below. It's good to get a kickstart and get ahead of things. But maybe gardening is not your thing. And the best way to avoid the burnout that we experience during the winter months is to focus our energy on something useful to us in the next year. Now, sometimes we get a sense of burnout because we have been working so diligently and earnestly, really in our preparedness along with every other job and hurdle in life, that we forget to relax and do nothing. I mean, let's be honest. We live in a time and age where we're constantly bombarded with information. We're constantly, it's like you're driving, you get that email and you got to look, what's going on? It's just a Groupon, right? I mean, it's constantly something getting our attention. And it's good to pull back and I have to do this every few months, to pull back, take a few days off and get perspective. Now, personally, I always have to be doing something, and I have to remind myself to set aside time to take a full pause or just take some time off. And it's a challenge for me because my mind, it keeps racing when I look to the future, like all of us do as preppers, and the things that I see on the horizon that I feel like are not that far away. The burden and the sense of, how should I say this, urgency is ever on the front of my mind. And look, even then when I take time off, I find I'm doing something, thinking and planning. And that's usually when I try to take downtime. I try to take a few days off and just try to allow my mind to take a break for a second. And it gives me an opportunity to sometimes free up just creative thinking and allow myself to kind of see the bigger picture. My encouragement to you is to set a realistic goal, project, or skill to learn for these holidays and winter months when you've got downtime, when maybe you're not out gardening or doing something active. And I would encourage you to make it something that you can draw out a timeline for, whether that's a skill that you're really interested in or gear you feel you need to purchase and budget for. Write it into clear steps to follow. My advice is consider what's achievable. I would encourage you to learn what you need to learn in these quieter times. This really trains your brain and starts the process of making ideas a reality. My encouragement is to take those first few steps into a new skill with the aim of bringing prepping into your life next year and not just as an insurance policy against some future calamity. The cooking, the knitting, sewing, mechanical, hunting, foraging, building, or other skills that you develop now, they will change your present world. I know for me, working with my neighbor, working on the grow shed, we've been putting in the wiring, insulation. We're roughing it in right now. We're putting in all the light sockets, and it really has put a sense within me to the need to learn even, more and more. I enjoy carpentry, but I realize there's a lot of skills that I need to develop as I build things out. And watching someone that's crafted and gifted at what they do, it's always daunting because you're like, how did they get there? But you have to realize they've been doing that for years. And so my encouragement is no matter where it is or what it is you feel like you want to start learning that you can see as being a useful prepper tool down the road, start today. And at the very least, it will save you a ton of money when you put these things into practice and develop a skill, just one more bit of self-sufficiency. And it's going to change your future world regardless of what calamity strikes. And most importantly, learning new skills today, it's going to help you create a more practical use and application of your preps. It will keep your mind occupied with the present challenges and help you avoid prepper fatigue or being overwhelmed by the uncertainty of the future world. And look, let's be honest. The last few years have been a bit overwhelming, and it just seems like we never get a break, right? Things kind of slow down, and then here comes something else. There's really been a lot to take in and process. Let's admit it. We've all been riding on cortisol for the last few years, and it's natural to feel anxiety from it all. And many of us have probably sprinted as quickly as possible to prepare once COVID hit. But my encouragement is, if you've got to, and if you need to, take a step back. Take time to pull back for a moment, catch your breath, plan the direction that you want to go next, and start moving forward. And while no one knows what calamity or problem we're going to face next, I mean, there's some things that I feel like if I were to predict or put money, and bet on certain things, I think there's some things that seem to be pretty clear that are out in front of us in the next few years. But we don't know specifically what's going to happen, and all we can do now is to prepare. The next year is going to probably bring as many challenges, and hopefully we're not going to see another global pandemic. At the time of recording this video, there's some new issues in China popping up, and Europe is now on alert. And gosh, I hope by saying this out loud, we don't see something flare up in the next few weeks. But all that to say, it's not about living in fear. It's not about living with the mindset of what ifs, but it's about an attitude to say, okay, look, I know there's challenges in front of me, but look, all I can do now is prepare. Even with the presidential cycle in front of us that looks to be very contentious, it's about a year out. And I don't think things are going to probably go too smoothly in the next year, no matter who wins. And the world right now is watching Ukraine, the conflicts there, and now the Middle East. At the time of recording this video, I'm recording it on Tuesday the 28th, and it looks like for a moment there's a ceasefire happening in Israel, and I hope this extends out by the time I release this video. And the world's always had bad actors, and Putin's not likely to just surrender his territorial ambitions. Early reports are coming out that show that if he can move past Ukraine, he will. The Ayatollah is not likely to embrace the West in friendship. And look, all the while, extreme weather will continue to challenge infrastructure and agriculture worldwide. And whether we're in the early or the middle stages of societal collapse, or this is the worst of the storm before days turn much brighter, it doesn't really matter to me. And I'm not going to burn out if I'm focused on prepping my life to be more self-sufficient. That's more than just an insurance policy that I hope I never have to use. It's a practical side of preparedness that many of us will never get to. But I aspire to it, and I actively will be working on things over the next few years to build more self-sufficiency into my life. And look, prepping is not a one-and-done task. I mean, it can be if that's all you choose to do, and you say, look, I've got 3 weeks, I've got 3 months set aside, and that's good enough, and that's all I want to do. But for those that identify like myself as a prepper, it's really an ongoing commitment to readiness. There are going to be moments like now when exhaustion creeps in, when the enthusiasm wanes and a sense of weariness begins to set in. It's usually these quieter moments in winter after the gatherings have finished, and that's okay to feel a sense of exhaustion. It's just human. It should also be your signal to pause and rejuvenate. In this marathon of preparedness, it's crucial to emphasize the importance of rest stops, places where you can quietly plan and map out the next pieces of your more significant journey. It's about acknowledging that feeling. A sense of burnout is a natural part of this journey, and pivoting to a different part of your preparedness journey. And maybe it doesn't seem as hands-on and active, but it's necessary to get you to the next level in your preparedness journey. Again, the key is setting realistic goals and milestones and creating a roadmap for the year ahead, something achievable and empowering. And it's okay to feel a little overwhelmed. These past few years have been a whirlwind of challenges, and it's understandable to feel the weight of it all. We sprinted to prepare when crisis hit. Now is the time to recalibrate. What remains in our control is the ability to plan and prepare. It's about leveraging this moment to catch our breaths, chart our courses, and stride forward, not hastily, but steadily. So to everyone feeling the strain of preparedness, my encouragement to you is take a moment, breathe, reflect, and remember, it's not the sprint. It's about the resilience built through the journey. And as we navigate preparedness together, let's embrace this pause, for our true preparedness flourishes within these moments of rest. So what's your thoughts? How are you handling these times while dealing with burnout? Let us know in the comments section below. I always enjoy getting your feedback. As always, stay safe out there.